All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool and
Charles Reece.
Charles. So, just to give you a little backdrop, we're here at Print Shop. Is it Print Shop Brewing?
Print Shop Beer Company.
Print Shop Beer Company. Sean's been here a number of times before, and this is my first chance. Really cool place.
Oh, yeah.
So, I tell you what, before we begin, I'll let Sean, you know a little bit more about this place, and maybe you can kind of bring him in. And
yeah, so I don't know a lot about it. I've usually come here. We do, when we do the rucking, sometimes we use this as a start and finish point. Right. We'll go down the road, and I'm glad we got that on camera. if you're just listening on the podcast,
that was a close one, near miss. We usually start here and stop here for the rucks. We'll have a beer before and beer after, and always it's just kind of a cool place. And you use this like a multi-use place, right? It's not just beer. Like I know you have a yoga class, or used to have a yoga class.
Yeah, like Saturday mornings we have Hair of the Dog yoga here. It's always a lot of fun. $10 hours worth of yoga and beer. Any beer that we have on tap, honestly. We have a backspace that we've started using for private events as well.
Okay. And
that's always a lot of fun. So it's very local-centric.
Yeah, and you also have, so tell us about your background, because it's pretty unique. What you went to school for and all that kind of stuff.
My personal background, so I lived in Memphis for about 25 years.
Okay.
I moved up here to be around my brothers more, who went to UT, and I worked at a mortgage company for 3 years. Terrible idea.
How'd that work out?
Oh, it was horrible. Sitting at a desk, it's not for me. And I went to a home brewing class at Last Days of Autumn, just randomly.
Yeah.
And the head brewer there, Delph, mentioned South College having a brewing science program. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what? Might as well. I hate my job, so let's just do something I actually want to do.
So had you had any experience prior?
Nope.
Really? None. That's cool. That's awesome.
I went to school 3 months before I got out of school. Mm-hmm. I got hired at a bar. Sugar Mama's used to be open. Mm-hmm. Then I got hired to be a sales rep at Cold Fusion Brewery. Mm-hmm. Then I got to brew with them for about a year and a half. And then they kind of shut down.
Wow.
Thanks to a school when we were trying to open a tap room. And then I got hired here.
Cool. So you had some marketing background though in school. That you said you took a couple classes. And
they gave us some business classes. They taught us a lot about how to market beer and how to kind of read market trends and a lot of different things.
So that's really cool. Can you imagine, Jonathan, when we were at school, if they actually taught you how to market beer?
I know.
We knew how to consume it.
Yeah.
But as far as selling it and marketing it legally, didn't have those advantages.
No, I think I would have.
Kids these days, so easy.
I know. And that sounds fun to me. We were taught big brands and case studies on Coca-Cola and all that stuff.
Right.
It's just, it's kind of a different spin today. So I'm curious, you said you went to school. What is it like a brewing school or a brewmeister school?
It was a brewing science program, so they just threw you into it. It was a 16-hour week for 9 months, which was very hectic with 2 jobs.
Right, I can imagine.
But it was a lot of fun. I learned that there's so much to brewing. It's a little ridiculous. It's very, very logical, but still very creative.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of love about brewing the most.
Well, last week on one of our episodes, we had someone who was a microbiologist, or her husband was a microbiologist. And he, in his spare time, he did beer because why wouldn't you if you were a microbiologist or whatever, right? So usually when we kick off these shows, we talk about the beer. So we both have the same thing. So we're going to let you do the honor of telling us what we're drinking.
So this one is called Hedonistic Tendencies. It's a peanut butter cup pastry stout.
Wow.
Yes. It was a very interesting brew day for that because instead of doing a 1.5 hour boil on it, we did a 6-hour boil.
Wow.
I can smell the peanut butter cup whenever I go to take a sip. I can.
Yes.
Because I was wondering what that was earlier when you said peanut butter cup. That's boom.
It's a Reese's peanut butter cup, but without the Reese's. We can't do that kind of branding here.
Yeah.
But no. So this was our first ever pastry stout with long of a boil on it. And when we put it in the fermenter, it exploded out of the top.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
And that was a lot of fun to see.
Yeah. You get it on video?
No, I wish I did.
Well, this is fantastic. We had a really, on our episode last week, we had, what was it, the mocha this? Or no, mimosa this? Is that it?
No, that was the Samoa.
Samoa, yeah.
Samoa this.
Samoa this. And it was a super, it was
pretty
rich.
I really enjoy that one.
Yeah. Very rich.
Samoa this, that's what it was. So. Well, we're going to kick off the podcast. We appreciate you joining us here.
Absolutely.
And letting us use the beautiful backdrop with the
absolutely
sign and the.
Yeah, here's our. This is our.
I'm going to be listening
website.
to that.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be putting a link and everything in that. So
Sweet.
yeah,
Awesome.
So,
we'll be back again.
Guys.
Yeah, this is cool, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be back up for another round shortly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that was fun. That was fun.
Nice to have real experts on the show.
Right. For a change. We are the tasters.
Yeah, well, we're the real world, tasters,
right.
And you need some just good regular people feedback.
Absolutely,
that's what we are. Not real smart.
No,
but
no,
smart enough to be drinking beer on a Friday at 3:00. I tell you that. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. While everybody else is, I think they're still at work.
Still
we're
at work.
Out here. Beautiful day outside.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
They've opened the doors up here.
Top was down on the Jeep today on the way over.
I saw that. We got to get a. Okay, I'm gonna break away. I'm gonna video this.
So he's taking a video of the new Jeep. So the new Wrangler JL. So it's this is the first year. Well, technically that's a 2018 JL because they went from JK to JL in 2018.
Yep.
So it's got a little bit different body front on it, a little bit more slope
Beautiful.
on the windshield.
What year?
18.
Okay.
Yep. So it's still new. One of those leftover dealer cars, but
Perfect time to get it.
Yeah, I went with the bright orange, pumpkin orange, or something like that. Bright orange metallic.
So cool. So
looking forward to modding that thing out and with new tires and wheels and all that stuff. Yeah, it'll be fun.
So we've got a couple of books today. We're going to be doing a couple episodes today where on this one we're talking about a couple of books that you and I have delved into. Yep. And on our next episode coming up, we've got a guest that's going to be joining us who is going to share a little bit about the business of brewing.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
Yes.
It is, we a lot of times the extent of our beer is simply in tasting. We're going to bring in an expert and a guy who's CEO or he's the co-founder of a brewing company.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be giving us some background on that. I think he's got a background in business, so that's kind of his cachet. He's going to talk about how they're building their brand, so it'll be fun.
Perfect blend of beer and business.
Beer and business. What?
It's 3 Bs right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to be talking in the book that I don't know how much, depends how much time we have, but
we got about 20.
I'm going to be talking about barbecue.
Okay.
Well, not really barbecue, but BBQ.
BBQ.
BBQ. So that's a teaser for my book.
Okay.
And you're going to be talking about
seducing strangers.
Yeah. While we're at a bar.
My wife, whenever she sees that, she goes, "What the heck are you reading?
What are you reading? Yeah.
Are you having an affair?" But no, it's an interesting.
No, but I'm planning on it. That's why I got the book.
If you've ever watched the show Mad Men, did you ever watch that?
Yep, little pieces of it.
This guy was a co-producer, the guy that authors this book. He was a co-producer of that show back in the day. Very popular show, and a lot of people that are into business marketing, they know that.
Yeah.
They know that show quite well if you're a student of advertising. But he's got some, I think, like you've got some takeaways. I've got some specific takeaways from this book that I wanted to pull out. But yeah, we'll delve into them.
So tell me about it. So the title is Seducing Strangers. What's the subtitle there?
How to get people to buy what you're selling.
That's pretty important.
Pretty good subtitle.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna start out with what he calls the 4 fundamental questions every advertiser, every salesperson, every marketer should ask when you have a product.
All right.
We think this is obvious. First question is, what is it? What are you selling?
Okay.
Right? I mean, that sounds pretty obvious. So we identify what we're selling. The next thing is why do I need it now? Now, I think this is a pretty important question. We think it's obvious, but I think a lot of people overlook this. Why do
so
I
these
need
are the 4 questions that a consumer might be asking.
Yes.
That you've got to answer.
Why do I need this product?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of great products out there. Mm-hmm. One that comes to mind is one that a lot of us have forgotten, which is Google Glass. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was all the rage.
Man, thought that was going to change. Thought we were going Minority Report on that one.
Right, yeah, absolutely. But I think I think that in the process of that, one of the questions that was forgotten along the way is, why do I need that right now? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool gadget to have, but, people are thinking, why do I want to be able to, record what people are saying when we're looking at each other? That sounds kind of covert.
Yeah.
It
might sell today, to be honest.
Yeah, it could.
Especially Google Maps. Like, I would buy it just for Google Maps, maybe. I mean, It's crazy. Yeah.
But it flopped. I mean, it was one of the things that was considered the next big rage, and I think they missed out on
that. And Google Plus.
Yeah, Google Plus. Yeah. And that's where you get into the product of techies who are so good at engineering and creating good products. Sometimes are terrible marketers.
Yeah. But I would love to fail as much as Google has failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean,
because their failure is.
Yeah, I mean but they're out there, But yeah, it's a good question. So the first 2 questions again are:
what is it? Why do I need it now?
Okay.
And so, and then the next question is, what makes it different from other things? What is it? What is unique about it?
Right.
And who else thinks it's good? We've covered a lot of this on past episodes when it comes to, especially going through, we spent several episodes in the advertising.
Breakthrough advertising.
Yep. Where we covered a lot of this. But this is I think these are 4 questions that a lot of people sometimes forget. They come out with a product, and I see it sometimes in the niche that I'm in manufacturing, where people forget some of these. Who else thinks it's good? I was talking to a manufacturer recently in the composites niche who came out with you have these conversations with people on the phone. He calls me up, and he tells me he's got the next great thing that people are going to just be, he's just going to be doing so much business it's not even funny.
Right.
And he started describing his product. Well, my years in the industry, I know that there's other similar products like it. They're just made differently. But he was going to make it different. And I'm thinking to myself, and I asked him, what's unique about yours? Because it just seems like you're using a different process to make it that's better. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't benefit because no one's complaining about other products. And it was a simple product. It was a step. He was fabricating steps for mobile homes.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay,
there's
nothing unique about that.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're doing an example of that is unique is GMC came out with their new tailgate,
right?
And they're building whole campaigns around that. But
absolutely,
but it's cool. It's different. Cool. Ford started that a couple of years ago with the little flimsy step inside the tailgate, and GMC was like, oh, we can do better than that, and that's a cool.
And that's an easy thing that you can obviously show the difference, the unique difference in it, the benefit from it, why you need it.
Yeah.
But I was going through a lot of these questions without really looking at this, but thinking in terms of this, but really thinking about these 4 fundamental questions. Why do you need it now? Mm-hmm. And what makes it different from other things? And those 2 things, I'm afraid, without squashing his dream, as an entrepreneur, I was thinking, you really, should do a little more research and understand that there's a million guys out here making these particular types of steps for the mobile home industry.
Right.
And it boils down to who's got the cheapest one.
Right.
So he was going to go into this market and compete from a commodity standpoint.
And I can probably get a container full of them from China for
absolutely
pennies on the dollar.
Yep. Yeah, because the ones that are making them here stateside, they have an established relationship. They've been doing them for years, and this guy was going to come in and disrupt the industry. But he wasn't going to disrupt the industry from a standpoint of the consumer.
Right.
Looking at from the consumer standpoint, he was going to disrupt it from his standpoint of he's got a better way, easier way of doing it.
Yeah, which nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that. So,
ouch.
But a lot of people are like that. They're thinking about, I've got this great product. And I think that people, if they could go to those 4 questions, they would make their life a whole lot easier. And I've got a part in this book that I've got underlined that says, the conundrum of advertising is that for a message to break through, to connect with, and to motivate a prospect, it can answer only one of these questions at a time. It takes a very different kind of message to answer each question.
Yeah.
So that was one takeaway from all of the. I got one other chapter, so if you might want to go back and forth, or
we can keep going.
Okay.
It's funny. It's funny that you. I'll be interested to see what the next section is, but
okay,
our brains work the same way apparently. Because even though I got a totally different book, it's really? Kind of in the same line. So.
Okay. Well, here's the next one that I wanted to hit is the sizzle sucks, the steak rocks. So
getting a little we're like putting. So I was just reading about Elmer Wheeler.
Yeah.
So I was reading Ben Suarez's The 7 Steps to Freedom because I was just flipping through it the other day when I was killing some time and trying to brainstorm some ideas. Mm-hmm. And one of the people he features in there is Elmer Wheeler, who came up with the phrase. Sell the sizzle, not the steak. And you're telling me now.
Yep.
I mean, you just shattered my world. Like I don't know what to do.
I've totally gone against everybody that's used that phrase, and I've used it. I can think of a number of times I've thought it. I don't ever say it because it sounds kind of cheesy now.
It does sound. It's definitely an '80s. Well, obviously, Elmer Wheeler is like a '30s or '40s phrase, but.
So what he means, so we're so often geared towards selling the features, the benefits, and this brings me back to, again, breakthrough advertising, where we talked about repurposing,
right.
So we think about brands like Marlboro, and they started out, they were geared towards, what was their sizzle? Their sizzle was, they were selling the sizzle to more or less a female demographic. It was marketed as a cigarette for females. Mm-hmm. And that completely did not work.
Right.
So instead of simply, scrapping because the message, the sizzle failed at that point, instead of scrapping the product, what did they do? They rebranded the sizzle. So, don't get locked in. The whole point of that is just don't get locked in with your message or your target market if you feel like you've got a good product. So many people, we've listed a number of examples, in that series that we did on breakthrough advertising of brands that just completely went. I mean, they were a flop to begin with,
right?
And then they had to repurpose themselves. What was the one on?
Schlitz was one. Schlitz beer.
Schlitz, yep, exactly.
They went from
Febreze was another.
Febreze, yeah, that was not working.
Yeah. And so they had to change. They had to basically tweak their sizzle. They had to change the sizzle and move on. They didn't, and they kept the product, but they reinvented it. So it's not saying scrap the sizzle, but it's saying, change your sizzle around if it's not working.
Yeah. So if you got a good steak, and people aren't buying the sizzle,
that's right.
Sell the protein.
That's right.
Sell the
protein. Exactly.
Whatever the other thing would be. So very cool. Well, and
again, I want to mention that book, Seducing Strangers, and again, it's a really quick read. People can pick it up. You can get it on Amazon. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fascinating case studies in it. But those are two that really I took away. So what do we have?
So this is the Book of Beautiful Questions.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. So I was just flipping through Amazon, and was not looking for this at all. And apparently it's a sequel, and I didn't even know this till after I got the book, but it's a sequel to a book called A More Beautiful Question. And then he got so many requests for how to create more beautiful questions that he created a book of beautiful questions. So
I've seen that title before.
Yeah.
And it's popped in my...
It looks like a very, something you'd see in an airport.
Yep.
It's probably in the airports because this guy wrote for the New York Times, so I'm sure he's got those distribution channels. But here was the question that I wrote down. Like, what do good creativity, good decision making, good leadership, and good connection all have in common? Good questions.
Good questions. Yeah.
So that's kind of the point of the whole book. Is he breaks this book down into 4 categories. How do you come up? How do you be more creative? How do you make better decisions?
Yeah.
How do you be a better leader? And how do you connect with others better? And his answer, because he writes about questions, is to ask better questions.
Yeah.
So, the book is literally just, every section is just full of questions. But just a quick example here is, if you're trying to illuminate a new area, like what am I really trying to decide here? What's most important? What critical information do I have and not have? So when you're trying to make decisions, instead of just asking which is the right decision, like a better question might be, what information do I not have? What expert could I call in to help me make a better decision? What counsel do I need? Like all these different types of questions, you just keep looking for them. And he goes through those for creativity, for decision making, for leadership, for connection. And there's one quote in the book that just like really got me. He said, questions unite people. It's the answers that divide us. Which I thought was just a really very cool quote. But you think about it, that's true.
Pretty profound.
Yeah, it's very profound. Like it's like, wow, you could chew on that for a while.
Yeah.
So, and I love the way the book is just written. It's broken up into those 4 sections, like I said. But then in the back, he's got a good section on like all the research he did. You can tell it was written by like a journalist. Like it's good, and that's his story. He's a journalist, so he had to learn to ask good questions. So there's just tons and tons of questions throughout the book that you can ask for those different situations, which cover just about everything you'd want. So like one of them is, if you're looking at creativity, like what might I notice if I were encountering this for the first time? So let's say you were trying to improve software or trying to improve something. Like if I was approaching this website for the first time, how might I improve it?
Right.
So taking that beginner's look. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just thinking in terms of that, one of the best interviewers of all times, and this was back in the day. I don't know, he's getting up in age, is Larry King,
right?
And always fascinated. I like just sometimes getting on YouTube to see some of the old clips when he was on Larry King Live, just to see him, because he always was a very engaging interviewer who would ask the right questions, but then not, really, he always seemed like he was totally enthralled and hung on to every word they were saying. Yeah,
and actually interested and all that. So the other big takeaway for me so far from this book, and I'm still reading it because it's one of those kind of slow reads because you want to really process the questions, and he said, what stops us from asking big, beautiful questions? And there was 5 things.
Right.
Fear, knowledge, because we think we know it already, hubris or arrogance.
Arrogance, yeah, I can see that.
Just regular biases, cognitive biases that we all have, or geographical biases. Like somebody new to Knoxville, where we're at right now, might ask different questions about what we see than what we would, just because we have a normalcy bias that this is just normal around here, right?
Yeah.
We should do a show on that, by the way. The 164 different cognitive biases.
Yeah,
that could be fun.
That would be good.
And then just a time where we don't make the time to come up with good questions, because a really good question, the types of questions that he's talking about, that really persuade and influence yourself and others, and in your decisions and all that, require some thought. Like you have to slow down enough to ask the good questions. Yeah. So it's interesting that the book you read, and you pulled out 4 good, big, beautiful questions, and then that's the book that
we tied it in.
We tied it all together
without even planning.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So, That's a very quick summary of the book. We could probably dive back into those at some point. But
to me, the most important, and I've learned this over the years as someone who's been in, from a background in sales, one of the best skills that you can learn as a sales professional, and the ones that fail and the ones that succeed. The ones that succeed are the ones that ask really good questions.
Yep.
The guys that fail in sales are the ones that either don't ask questions or ask all the wrong questions.
Right.
And so
it's funny. The same is true in coaching.
Yeah.
Same is true in copywriting.
Absolutely.
Like in copy, if you in your research phase, if you don't ask good questions, you won't find that thing that it becomes the hook or the sizzle of that product or that promotion. So, yeah, questions are everything if you want to persuade and influence others.
See, that makes me want to get that because, especially from a guy you say he's a reporter.
Yeah.
Right? And reporters, some of the best reporters out there are the best people at asking the right questions.
Right. Yeah, and he was like New York Times level reporter.
Right.
I can't remember, but so he's got. And of the two, it looks like this is probably the better book. His first book was kind of the big. He also, at the very end, he talks about having your own, like one big, beautiful question that you ask throughout your life.
Trumpism. Big, beautiful questions.
Big.
The best. The greatest
hugest, biggest, most beautifulest question ever. Will I win in 2020?
That was beautiful, Sean. Just beautiful. I love the way you posed that.
Yeah, he talks about having a big, beautiful question for your life.
Okay.
So, like, that you can, it's kind of a touchstone for you over and over. So, it might be, and it could change throughout your life. So, as you're a parent, it might be, am I being intentional with my kids?
Right.
In your marriage, it might be, so I was on a coaching call last night, and we've been working together for about 10 weeks, and I asked the guy to come up with kind of his phrase, his kind of touch point.
Yeah.
And he came up with living intentionally. As I was thinking about this book, it's like the question then becomes, am I living intentionally today? Am I living intentionally in this moment with my wife, with my kids, with my employees, whatever? So finding that kind of that big, beautiful question that you can ask yourself over and over is really powerful. And, that's going to be different for different people, obviously. So
cool. Well, this has been good.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. We got to wrap up. But, again, you can find us at persuasionbythepint.com. Here we're live from Print Shop Beer Company.
Yep.
And we'll be posting a link as well as describing what we're having. It's been good. I like this.
Okay, we'll have to try something different on the next episode, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thanks, guys.